All right, Erin, you are on formative assessment in the health education amid distance learning.
So good morning, everybody. I'm Erin Director. I work at Bonnie Eagle High School in the Standish area. And just kind of give you some background information about our school is throughout this whole lovely experience, we have been doing grading. So we are a school district that has been doing the whole grading process, not just, what is it called? Extended learning opportunities or whatever, because on that Monday, we started a new trimester. So we have brand new students. So I kind of like, this is what I've done is what you might be doing in the fall, hopefully not, but because I had brand new students that I never met before on my first day of online learning. So I have a little experience there. And then since it is a trimester course, we did have to do grading and throughout this whole process so that they could have grades throughout the year. So does anyone have any questions about that so far? No? Okay. So some of the things, so I have some tricks that I've learned to help with the whole grading piece because it has been mandatory. And especially for the high school level, I see there's a lot of elementary school people on here as well. I think I'm going to throw it out there, honestly, that a lot of my stuff is going to be online stuff. And I don't know if it's going to be as helpful to people if they aren't using the computers. I know that my kids in Portland, they were able to use computers, but just kind of throwing that out there as well. So we use Google Classroom at our school, which I think a majority of Maine districts probably do. Do most of you use Google Classroom? Yeah, and the whole Google Docs sort of thing. One of my saviors is using Google Forms. And how many people here, I'm assuming many of you are familiar with Google Forms? No, we got some no's. Okay. So why this has become my savior is a lot of the times that I found that if I do worksheets, that it takes a lot more of my time when I have 100 students to go through and grade every single worksheet on there when I'm looking just for, did you get it, basically. So I'm going to share my screen and hopefully I can pull the right thing up. Oh. Susan, I can't share my screen because it says I'm just a attendee. Okay, well, I'll explain it while we're waiting on that. So with Google Forms, what I've done.
You're all set.
Okay. Is that I have made a lot of forms that do the self-grading. Sorry. Oh, okay. Apparently my computer doesn't want to do that. That makes it a lot easier. So a lot of times because it's, either I do a Zoom or I will do a Google Share. Sorry, it's not letting me share it without doing something weird on my own computer. Clearly I haven't shared in quite a long time. All right, let's see if we'll do it now. Is making it so, there we go. Okay, sorry. So for example, this is another thing that I've done. I've done choice boards, but we'll get back to that in a second. Okay. So with this one, I did this I had a presentation that I had them look at about reproductive health and then just did a quick little questionnaire to see what they've learned. And then it gave me, out of 20, I did 20 questions, 20 points, in just a quick way. So I can just go look, and I can't really pull it up because it has their names attached to it, but I can just go through and I'll get a report of what they got right and what they didn't. And then I can see where I need to expand upon my, information. Then I can put in a quick little grade into the grade book, that it was basically completed and where they are in their learning when it comes to this specific topic. A great resource for and instead of going back and having to kind of like, where am I going to get all these questions? I love this website called Quizzes, a lot of Z's in there. And the only one I found that, unfortunately, the only one that's hard that's find, if you type in, for example, sex, it always comes back that there's nothing available sometimes. So you have to, oh, now it does. Didn't work for me the other day. But, and so it's great to for this, you can find questions from other people so you don't have to go and find them on your own. So if I was in the elementary, what might be something that, I don't teach elementary level, but what might be something you would teach at the elementary level? Someone shout something out, please. All right.
Remember to unmute yourselves when you're shouting out.
Or is there anything in the chat box? I don't know, I can't see it while I'm on here.
Music.
Okay, music. Let's start with that. Or even something in particular, like, well, they have the obviously, and you can see the grade levels, like second grade music, and you come in and you can, I love just stealing their questions, so I don't have to go and try to figure them out myself. So then I'll take these and I'll put it in my form, and it makes it so much easier. And then I can go through and kind of see what they understand and what they don't from the topic that I've learned. And that's been so much easier than having to go through and have them, you know, write all the definitions and things like that. And it's kind of, and you can make some trickier than others where they actually have to think, and other can be more like just like a vocab type of thing. It depends on what you're doing. So how to use the forms, they're pretty easy to make. And this, I'm doing this, I mean, I know some of you are probably like, okay, this is boring, but for the people who've never used it before, you just kind of go to whatever folder you're in. You want to go to Google Forms, blank form, or you can do from a template. I just usually do a blank form. And then what you want to, there's all different options. You want to go up to settings first before you forget. I usually collect all email addresses just because I sometimes forget, and then you get response number 1, response number 2, and you're like, crap, which student was that? So, and you can make it so if you wanted to be like a quiz, you can make it so they can only do it once. I sometimes, it depends on how you want to do it. The other thing you want to do is go up here to quizzes and turn it into make it a quiz. If you have Chromebooks, we don't have Chromebooks at my school, but if you do have Chromebooks, you can turn on lock mode so they can't go to any other tab they have open on their screen and cheat, which is kind of nice, but we don't have Chromebooks. So I haven't been able to use that. I can't tell you how great the function is. I don't know if anyone else has tried that with Chromebooks on here, but because we have the MacBooks at our school. And then you can have them release their grade immediately after manual review. They can see which ones they missed. I usually take off the correct answers depending on if it's like a quiz or not, and so on. And then you can do all different types of questions, multiple choice, short answer, longer answer, all type of things, and then you can assign points to it. And at the end, it's going to grade it automatically for you. So it's a pretty easy type of thing if you just set it up at the beginning, or because I set them up this year, I plan on using them if I have to. Hopefully I don't. Next fall, so that, you know, I can just reuse the quizzes over and over again, so I don't have to remake them. So there is a little more work in the beginning to get all this stuff together, but in the long run, and I plan on using some of these even when we do go back, as well as like a quick little formative at the end of a lesson that you can do. So Google Forms is great, and then they're fun. You can change the colors and you can add pictures to the top and that sort of thing if you would like to. And so that has been like out of all of my things that I've done this trimester, that's been my the biggest one that's been helpful to me. Because I had 3 preps. I had taught this, and I taught a foods for wellness and a advanced health class. So having it, making the easiest grading for me was going to be essential, because I was finding myself, and I'm sure many of you have, spending hours upon hours in front of the computer, and it just was soul sucking. So that has been a great tool. Since a lot of this things in health, and probably any other type of special or elective class, is a lot of demonstrating of skills, and many people may have done Flipgrid before. And this has been another kind of fun one. I used it a lot in my Foods for Wellness class, where they had to demonstrate like knife skills and things like that. So I had some different topics on here, like we did a limited ingredients flip grid where they had to find 3 ingredients to make a meal, kitchen appliances, kitchen tools. And then I also used it in my advanced health class this trimester, where they had to demonstrate skills for CPR, because believe me, that is not an easy thing to teach at home. And like, how do they remove gloves? How do they show me an example of how you find the problem in that situation? So skills that they have to do in order to get certification, which I can't really have them complete fully until the fall. But, you know, just kind of getting them to practice those type of things and then showing me. And this is a quick little way to be able to do it. And they're kind of neat. So I'll show you an example. I have, you know, a student put her video of how to remove gloves.
Okay, so today I'm gonna be properly taking off the gloves. So first
So it's kind of a neat little way, and then you can leave them comments and so on. And then they can watch each other's videos and comment if they'd like to as well. So it's kind of a fun little interactive way. This is actually really great for foreign language too. If you want foreign, I don't know, not everyone on here is health, right? I think there's a mixture of people on here, right? So this would be great if you want them to demonstrate any type of musical type of thing or reading out loud. You could have it be someone's turn to read and they have to make a video, and their classmates can comment on their video, hopefully in a productive way. And it's been a really fun thing. Edpuzzle was another one I used, and I will warn you of this one. My students didn't like this one as much. Oh, do we have hands up? I have you, like, I can't really see everybody.
Yeah, no, this is just me, Erin. I was just going to let folks know, we did do 2 sessions on Flipgrid. One was a tutorial, how to do it, how to use it. The second one was like 2 weeks later, a follow-up Q&A with some examples from folks that had used it as well. So if they want more information on Flipgrid, we have those recorded.
Yeah.
Which is awesome. I love the fact that it has the built-in assessment piece.
Yeah, that's really kind of a cool thing. And for especially when it's certain things like where you have to demonstrate certain skills. They could do even like little skits on, well, I guess it's kind of hard to do skits without other people. But you never know.
They could figure it out. The other aspect of it, as you said, you can turn it on and off so other people could see the students can see each other's, or it can be so nobody can see the others, just so folks know it can go either way.
Yeah. With Edpuzzles, another good one, especially when I was doing the CPR stuff. I will tell you, make sure if you're using Edpuzzle, don't make your videos too long, because my kids hated it by the end. But I mean, CPR videos are long and boring, so sorry. But you know, if you're going to do quick little videos where they can watch it, I did one about stress. You probably want to make them a little bit shorter than some of mine were on here. Mine were like, some of them were up to an hour. But you know, and then the thing that's cool about it is that you can plug questions into your videos, which I've done here, and then it can give you their scores. And so, and if you go to Gradebook, of course, everyone's names might be popping up. I hope not. Oh, sorry, I can't see but anyways, you can see the grades. And then it's another quick, easy way to plug it in right in. So all you have to do is make it once, and then you can see what their grade is, and then you can see what their learning was. And actually, it's more like, and then actually the other thing you can see is how much time they spent on it. So you can see if someone kind of skipped through and just tried to go to the questions, or if they actually watched the whole video. And then if they did poorly on it, you can reset it and say, I need you to go back and redo it again. And actually watch the video this time and not just skip to the questions. And that was really nice for and there's already some on here. So for example, if I typed in music again, let's just put music. There's all different types of ones you can actually find from other people who have made them. If we put like percussion instruments, all different types of things. And then there's already some that have been made by other people, and you can just go through and kind of tweak it if you want it, or make a copy. You hit copy here and then tweak it, which is great. And so it makes it a little more interactive for kids as well. Alrighty. So does anyone have any questions so far? So those are some of the big things that I've been doing that have been helpful. Like I said, when making any type of quizzes, this has been really helpful, because I don't know about you, but by the end of the day, my brain is fried, and me trying to come up with all these questions about my presentation has been brutal. So, you know, take them, you know, you don't need to reinvent the wheel. The other thing that I've been doing is, especially if you have something that you want kids to practice over and over and over again, you know, is creating that blank template. So like, for example, we do decision making a lot in our classes. We also do goal setting. We practice accessing information, determining whether a source is reliable or not. And so making a template that you can just plug new things into each time so the kids are familiar with it. So I have an example here. If I can find it. There we go. And this is my decision-making model one and I can plug this in with any type of content I'm going over. So like if I'm going over, sexual health, or if I'm going over nutrition, I have my scenario, and just having that template and all, it's just easy to plug each time a new scenario in. So I started off the trimester with doing one about COVID because I thought it was, on topic, and just plugging in a new scenario each time. So they're familiar with the form and what my expectations are. I'm just going slowly, sorry. And so I just kind of have your 14 days into social isolation, and then, figure out what would you do in that situation. So having a lot of like just templates that you can easily plug things into has been really helpful. And another thing, and making your presentations, if you're going to be doing presentations, like a lot more interesting is important. Because I've noticed if I just have a black and white slideshow, no one's going to want to really look at it. And so I use Slides Carnival to kind of, if you use Google Docs, Slides Carnival, is what it's called. Yeah, is a great website where you can get cool and fun backgrounds for your presentations if you haven't used it before. And they have a lot of different things. I run a summer camp for the summer, and I created one, if I can find it, yeah, that, and my boss is like, oh my gosh, this is amazing, how did you do it? I was like, oh, I'm just special and magical. But it's really just a template of and just being able to make it more interesting and plugging different things in and talking, pictures and so on. So Slides Carnival has a lot of fun, especially, and there's a lot for education and so on, playful, that just to make your presentations more interesting if that's what you're doing. And teaching the kids how to use that. Canva is another one, but my kids don't like it as much, but they really, actually, it was a student, like there's a Jeopardy template, all different, dinosaurs and so on, to make it more interesting so that if you find something that's related to what you're teaching, it's a little bit more spot on. All right, so does anyone have questions? Or like any, how do I get back to where I want to? I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Any questions so far, or anything that you have that you've been finding that has been really great for your classroom?
Folks can just unmute yourselves when you want to share. Like I said, wave or raise your hand. Or it's not a big group, you could ask right out.
Yeah. Or what were you is there anything that you were specifically looking for or interested in that maybe I didn't think about sharing?
Hey, Erin, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Your template for the decision-making one, is that on our Facebook page for the Maine Health Teacher one?
I can put it on there.
Can you put the template on there?
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Erin, could you share just a minute about the Facebook page for other folks to know?
Yeah. So the Maine Health Teacher, there's a Maine Health Teacher toolbox. It's on Facebook, and it's a resource. Oh, actually, I can probably pull it up. Give me a second, though. Maybe. All right. Well, I'll talk while I'm trying to figure it out. It's a page for basically any health teachers, or we're not super picky. We're not that discriminatory about who we're going to let in. And it has a lot of different resources. I will admit it's more geared middle school, high school so far from what I've kind of noticed on there. But a lot of resources for health education. Some of it's you could easily adapt it. Sorry, I'm trying to sign into my Facebook page so I can show you. Easily adaptable for other ages. But so there's a lot of different resources, and it's from teachers themselves or from community members. We have trying to do too many things at once. Am I not paying attention? Try to get into my Facebook page. So there's community members, like for example, we have had things about how to teach dating and domestic violence, consent, from some different resources. So now I can pull this up to show you. Share. Oh, maybe that's not the right one. Sorry, I got too much going on. There you go. So, and so there's a lot of different posts. So for example, we've had posts recently. Maybe. From Maine Family Violence Project, a family violence project from Maine, and this is actually specifically grades 2 to 4. Some distance dating for teens, and then we have, you know, just some places where you can ask questions, share things like, for example, Doreen posted her puberty letter here, fun little the bit me and sort of stuff. So it's been a nice little resource for not only just health teacher stuff, but there's also like cool little things that you could incorporate into your classroom. We also have files over here of different things that have been imported onto here, like different, you know, assignments or templates or ideas. So if that's something you're interested in, you can send a friend. So it's called the Maine Health Teacher Toolbox up here at the top. And you can send a request and we'll, you know, get back to you on. So yeah, here's all different types of, you know, healthy bingo and stress management, all different types of resources on there to share with each other. So instead of going to Teachers Pay Teachers or something like that, you could check here first to see what you're looking for, see if there's anything there that you're looking for. And then if there's not, or you just even shout out, like, I'm struggling teaching this. And then a lot of people will chime in with what are some other maybe throw out some ideas or what they might have that could be helpful to you. So it's a pretty good resource, I would think. If anyone else has been on there, I think there's some good stuff on there. But like I said, as of right now, it looks like it's a little bit more geared towards higher grades, but it'd be wonderful to have some resources for elementary school as well on there.
Erin, I have a question. Was there any topic that you weren't able to teach, or, you know, that you included in your?
The only reason why would be due to time.
Oh,
not
okay.
that it wasn't that I didn't feel like I'd be able to. It's just we ran out of time because we were teaching on a rotation. So I would see each of my classes 3 days a week. So in versus the 5 that, you know, obviously we get to, you know, in a traditional setting. So I did have to, you know, kind of par it down a little bit more because we were expected to give about 3 hours of work per week. So there were some things that I wasn't able to go into as much detail as I would have if it was in the classroom. But it wasn't because I didn't think I was able to, it was because I just didn't have the time. And I think it just depends how next fall goes, if they're gonna have, because what we've kind of found is that we kind of had to, our 3rd trimester curriculum obviously had to be watered down quite a bit more compared to the other ones. But then are we gonna see huge gaps in learning? So we're kind of looking at, are we going to have to change that for the fall and make it so they meet every day or not? So that's something we have to think about. Sarah?
Erin, so when you guys were grading, did you revamp how you normally would have done it if it was a regular school trimester? How did you guys pare it down? Did you focus more on participation?
So what we did is because we are a standards-based school, that's another piece of it. And so we're grading, we grade on 1 through 4 scale, and we grade per standard as well. So we found that we wouldn't be able to really do that in this setting. So we had, we created a standard for each content area called virtual learning progression. So to see if they were progressing through the learning or not. And so we would grade that at a minimum every 2 weeks. And so if they weren't doing any work and they were progressing, then they would obviously get lower scores. And then on the opposite weeks, we kind of try to stagger them. We did a work completion grade as well. And that would be like, did they complete anything, basically. And so if, let's say, 4 weeks down the line, or maybe 10 weeks down the line, like I had a student, they decided they wanted to start doing their work, I could change their learning progression grade, but their work completion grade would stay the same. And that seemed to work pretty well. I would say I was talking to Jean earlier, and she asked how, and I would say about 75% of my students passed this trimester. There's always I have about I would say about 100 kids. Out of the 100, 10 did zero work. They just never even checked in. And then I had maybe some drop off, but a majority of the kids did enough to pass going through. But we did have to change that because there was going to be no way that they'd be able to. So our virtual learning progression was about worth 80% of their grade, and the work completion was worth 20. So, and I mean, and they gave us a lot of flexibility on how we wanted to do that.
Really sounds like you all really thought it out well. I liked how you figured out the virtual learning progressions as opposed to, you really adjusted well. And so it was like that in all the content areas?
Yep, because we knew that we weren't going to be able to get all of the students through all of the standards we would traditionally get through each trimester. So we kind of had to, like you said, go back and say, okay, so what content was the most important, or what, standards did we really want to make sure they got, so they were at least, mostly prepared to, like, especially in things like math, where, with health, it's a one go and, they don't see me again unless they take an elective. But like, how will we keep them prepared for coming back in the fall? So we kind of had to really look at what was the key stuff that we wanted them to be able to do, and then come up, when then each week we would post what the learning objectives would be for that week, and saying this is what we're going to get through, or what we're going to try to have you get through, and then whether they were able to, meet those or not, or try to progress through that. And some of them times it wouldn't just be 1 week, sometimes it would take multiple weeks to get through whatever it was, but just kind of how are they progressing in getting to where that final piece where we want them to be. And then that's where we put in the formative grades, and, so the parents could see, well, they did do it, they didn't do it. It was really important that we put those grades in regularly so that they could see, well, no, they really haven't done this work. That's why this is the way that it is. But then going back and being flexible. The one thing I will say, if you do use Google Classroom, is that it's important to make sure you have your alerts on. For some reason, midway through my trimester, my alerts went off. So I had all these kids turning in work, and I had no idea that they had turned it off in, because it was all late. And so just make sure your alerts are on, because then I had like a weekend of going through work, because, they're like, I turned it in. I was like, you did? And then had to go all the way back through from things that were due like 4 weeks ago that they turned in late. And so just make sure your alerts stay on. I don't know why mine turned off, but just checking on that regularly to make sure that they do. And I've heard that some people have struggled, like, especially if you co-teach, you don't want to I would press for each doing your own Google Classroom page, having a shared folder of documents that you can put on them, but not sharing the full page together unless you like do co-teach at like the same time, just because it's harder, because figuring out whose is whose and all that sort of stuff. But I guess it depends on your content, what you're doing. I just feel like it's easier to have just your kids turning in your stuff, but then sharing a doc. And that's another thing that we did. Thank you for bringing that up. As a group, as my health and PE department, we all came together and created a working document where we would post what we planned on doing each week. So we were all like on kind of a similar page, and, having links in there that we could use to post it. So we had similar documents. You didn't have to stick to the same exact things, but so at least we had a running theme of where everyone would be at the same time, and then having documents that you could share together. But we all each ran our own Google Classrooms and all those sort of things. And then we had our weekly meeting check-ins, just saying, how's this going? And, is this going well? And then kind of tweaking from there. The one thing I did learn through this whole thing, I'm a bit of a, let's put it this way, go-getter. So I did evaluations at the end, and I realized I probably put too much work on my students this trimester. And some of them felt really overwhelmed in certain classes. So that's something to kind of, but I mean, some of them said it was manageable. Then you had the kids that are obviously like, this is the worst class ever. So just kind of keeping that in mind. As an adult, we can plug through these things a lot easier than I think kids can, and I forget that sometimes. So just kind of making sure that you have a good balance each week.
Now, did you do any, since you hadn't met your students before, did you do any like icebreakers or whatever? I mean, how did you get to know them?
I did a beginning survey, which I always do. I mean, I do it in my but so trying, what are your pronouns, things you like, things you don't like. And then I did do some flip grids, like where I'd offer, ask them to come in and kind of introduce themselves, tell me a bit about themselves. But I will admit, not everyone did them. Getting kids to come on I don't know how other teachers, but getting kids to meet with me on the camera meetings was difficult. And I didn't get a lot of kids participating.
Yeah, we heard from other folks that some did really well with that and some didn't.
Yeah.
Any folks on here have face-to-face Zoom meetings on a regular basis with your kids? Stacy, and I'm sorry, Stacy, you had your hand up before too. Go ahead, Stace.
Hi. Great information, Erin. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So to answer your question, Susan, yeah, I had a health chat every Monday, but it dwindled. It started at 20 kids that was about 20%. And then down to, I had a one-on-one last week and we're done. So Erin, one of the questions I have, and this is what I struggled, there's two pieces to this question, and I don't know where other people are at. With regard to truly assessing, I kind of felt like I was doling out information. I felt like I had gone back 20 years, right? I was doling out information. I don't know how it landed. And it was really more like, here's information. And I would try to do a personal or reflective response type of work with them. But I found a lot of kids were like, oh, I couldn't find the answers. They wanted to just like, here's the text, and I never gave any text, it was all videos, but here's the text and what's the answer, as opposed to really getting them to dig. And then when I did have them dig, and it was more personal reflection to see if like the true learning and understanding was there, I had a lot of cheating sharing going on. So there's kind of two things that I saw that if we're in this platform, I need to figure out how to avoid that. So I guess, the cheating I'll deal with, but the bigger piece is how do we truly assess the learning?
So you mean like on a day-to-day or like at like the end of the content?
I think day-to-day with regard to like if I was to take apart each individual assignment, so to speak, right? There was, I guess the cheating is involved in there because there was a lot of, like you could tell like when kids weren't really reflecting themselves truly, like trying to gain the meaning, the understanding, and then the application to real life. But instead they had Googled, the question I posed to them, and they're just so, I don't know what the word is. I won't be too crass, but just like they're not thinking, like they didn't change the font, the language is not theirs. It was so clearly a Google response. So how do you get beyond that?
On the day-to-day, I didn't do as much of the reflect, unless it was like real personalized. I didn't do much, like I did maybe 3 web quests throughout. And I know what you're saying, it's, you get the copy and paste, pretty much. I did a lot of, for the daily lessons, kind of some of the, like I said, little quizzes and things like that they had to be able to answer. And if they did poorly, they didn't look it and they just went and they guessed. And I sent it back and said, you need to redo this type of things. But when it came to, I made it very personalized. Like my last final, I think I posted it on that Facebook page. It was like, what did you personally learn about mental health and explain? Whereas they can't really, take that off the internet. I learned, unless they're really creative about learning how to do that. And at that point. But I did notice towards the end, I mean, they were getting sick of it, so that a lot less effort was being put into the work. And so a lot of it got sent back and said it needs to be redone. And the more you do that, the less that they slack on it, I guess, saying you need to redo this, you need to redo it, because the less, you know, I'm not putting a grade in because this is copy and paste, the less that they try to pull it off. That's what I've kind of noticed. The more you say, call them out and say, no, I'm sorry, I found this on the internet, I need you to do this on your own, or, you know, not give them a grade for it until they do, put it as missing. But I didn't catch on to too much of that this trimester, surprisingly, or at least I didn't catch it. Or making that, like I did, you know, projects where I made them sign up for different things. So it was hard to, you know, cheat off each other as much. I don't know if that helps your question at all.
It does. It does. Thank you. Yeah. And I may have some standalone situations. I mean, the cross-class cheating and like sharing of personal reflection and opinions kind of blew my mind.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is so specific. Why would you be so, you know, lazy to like ask
Right.
for somebody else's response? But I hear what you're saying. And I think I guess the bigger piece is like the true assessment, you know, that reflective piece. I don't know how else to do it in this platform, you know, other than it becomes a little more personal, it's reflective
Yeah.
and applicable to real life, you know, and how do you make meaning and sense of all that? But I'm not sure about the skill demonstration and all of that.
I mean, that's where you could use the Flipgrid type of thing. And then that gives them the opportunity to work with each other too, you know, where they could do each piece, or making videos where they do each piece at home, you know, and they come up with a script together and they do a communication piece thing at home with each other. Or, you know, I really like using the fake text messaging type of website where they can practice like the communication skills that way, where there's a lot of like, I'm sure you've seen them, like the fake text videos and things like that. You just put fake text story in Google, it comes up. I can show you. Maybe I say I can show you, but then each time I end up making it so my computer doesn't work that well. But it's kind of a cool little fun app. They have apps too, but most kids will usually use their computer. And or like even making memes and stuff or like that. So this fake text message conversation, and they can create communication through this. Like, so I gave them, I said, I want you to show conflict and how to resolve conflict. And they come up with their own scenarios, and they will type, you know, for example, you stole my jewel. And then they can go show like how to resolve conflict in a healthy way back and forth. And they're just kind of like, and they seem to like doing this one. And I came up with some really great, they gave some really great stuff, kind of insightful, kind of a little scary sometimes, about, you know, different topics. You could even have little kids do this thing. Okay, you want to go to your friend's house and your mom says no, how can you convince her, you know, try to go back and forth. A way to practice their communication skills. And I sometimes have them doing with each other too. They like to, you know, do it back and forth with each other on their actual phones and take screenshots. But just kind of thinking outside of the box of how are we going to show those skills is hard.
That's probably something you could do more with high school. I'm not sure elementary, middle, you'd want to have them doing it on their own back and forth for a lesson.
Right. But with the fake one, it's just them by themselves.
Yeah. Fake one's great. I've never seen that.
Yeah. And then they have ones where you can like make little movies out of it too. Where if you've seen those I've seen them on Facebook where they have like the fake stories back and forth. Like someone's under your bed.
Oh.
Yeah, it's creepy. Sometimes creepy. But yeah, they liked using that. But there are some, even like you can use it for decision-making skills, like, and have them making movies and stuff like that. It's very different. We did a lot of like making their own, like, presentations about different things, and I kind of had to like think outside the box with like different ways that I do typical assessments. Like we usually do a big advocacy project, and then I had to open it up bigger to like, how are we going to do it instead of at school? How are we going to do it at home? And A lot of them use their social media to advocate for something they're, passionate about. A lot of them wrote letters, just kind of thinking outside the box of how are we going to, get to those skills has been. And then and the other thing that's good about Google Classroom, and Stacy, I don't know if you've noticed this, is that they have that authenticity box, so you can click it and it will tell you if someone cheated. So basically,
Because it can check information.
you
Interesting.
can check information.
I never knew that. I was like cutting and pasting on the internet.
Yeah,
just
there's
for,
like I don't know if I can pull it up because I don't, but it's,
Yeah, but when you try to use that, I thought when I've used it with kids, I thought I got like a limited amount of times I could try it with.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
No, I haven't tried it that often because I haven't really had the reason to.
I had to do that with some kids' work, and I found that maybe it was, I don't know, but it just seemed like I couldn't do it very often, and it would block me out or say you reached your limit or something of that sort. Or
Oh, huh. I'll have to look into it.
yeah.
Hey, Erin,
Yeah.
would you be willing to do just a one-page document that lists out some of the different apps and websites and that you were talking about that I can post in our?
Yeah.
That'd be great to kind of go along with the recording. And why don't we open up and throw out to folks, how did you all assess your students during this time? What were some assessment strategies that different folks used?
I'll just throw out that we weren't allowed to assess.
And anybody else in that boat, wave to us or put your hand up if you were not allowed to.
We, on our report cards, we're just doing a narrative, and this is for K-5 or pre-K-5, just letting parents know how much they participated in reviewing a narrative of the skills that we taught. So we really didn't assess either.
Okay. Just
But
more-
that will be different in the fall, I think.
And I see that's the kind of overall message I'm hearing is that we didn't hold them accountable this spring, but we have to start the fall with it's a new normal and we will be holding you accountable because that's the only way you're going to not get some of the things that we've heard. The kids will be checking out that they won't do what they don't think they have to do. So we have to start the year off right, making it very clear that whatever it is, but if it is distance learning, it has the same value of being face-to-face.
I heard our high school, and this is just what I heard from other parents, that the high school gave their parents an option of either getting a pass-fail grade or to maintain the current scores that they were working towards. And they had a letter that was sent home, and they had to sign off on the letter for which option they were going with.
Wow.
We at Bunny, we did pass and then insufficient evidence. But on their report card, it's not going to go in their transcript. On the report card, you'll see what actual grade they got to.
And Erin, do you guys at Bonnie Eagle have a plan for these kids who did not pass, right?
Yeah.
Do you have a plan for them? Will they pick up from where they left off, or is it starting?
No, they would have to retake the course.
Okay.
Because it is a trimester long. It's different than other schools where it's a full year course. It's like we have, like, for example, our English is broken into English A, English B. And if they pass English A, but they didn't pass English B this trimester because they chose not to do anything, they would need to retake it. So we are going to see our numbers being, like, because of course, like every other school, we did course registration in February. And now we're going to have to see a lot of shifting probably for the fall of where kids are going to go. But I don't think it depends on the numbers. Like my class, I'm not going to have as many repeaters as maybe some other subject areas.
One of our other teachers shared with us that they were doing makeup modules. So if the students had a particular unit that they didn't do or didn't pass, they're going to set up in the fall 1 week, 2 week modules that they can do during a study hall, extra time after school. They're coming up with what the schedule will be, but they can go in and catch up that way. I thought that was a cool model.
I think we're going to do something similar because, I mean, there's going to be a lot of kids who, in order to graduate on time, are going to have to make up stuff. So I think we might be doing some online classes too, like additional electives and stuff like that online that they might be able to do.
Yeah, I think that's kind of cool way to do it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to start calling on people. We got a few more minutes here. So let's see. Alan, you were one of the first ones on, so I'm going to call on you. What are some formative assessment strategies you used?
Well, we didn't use any assessments. Sorry, hold on. No, we didn't use any assessments. We were just kind of told, and where I'm a special ed teacher, so it's sort of one of those, I kind of had to just kind of review what they had learned throughout the year and just make sure that they didn't lose any material. It wasn't really about gaining material. So, and I just used, like for math, I used Freckles. So that was kind of, they had some mini tests on there. So, and then we read. So.
What level are you?
Middle school.
Okay. I'll say one thing that was helpful is that we have a lot of special ed teachers at school. The ones that they created like little Google chats with the students' teachers and checking in and doing, instead of just an email, but like popping in and saying, hey, this is what's going on. That kept us remembering that kid a lot more than, there's some teachers I never heard from. It was me contacting the special ed teacher all the time, but every once in a while checking in, doing maybe a little Google chat with all the teachers saying, hey, how's it going? Or I noticed this. That was very helpful. Just to throw that out there.
Yeah, the big thing was getting just participation for my students. You know, it's hard enough to get them to school and participate. It was extra hard. So,
Right. Thanks.
That's helpful because I would say that I didn't really have much contact with our specialists. So that's a good tip that maybe I could venture out and make sure that the specialists are getting participation and trying to keep that front.
Yeah.
We've heard from folks, and one of the things that they were talking about, by having the connection, as you said, across all of the different teachers, is finding out which ones the kids connected with, because they'll connect with different teachers, and then being able to kind of piggyback on that connection. So, Julie, how about you? You have to unmute.
Hello, guys.
Hi there.
A couple of things that we do at our school, we have professional learning communities that met weekly, and the specialists, our Title I teachers, our administration was involved in those. And I felt though that they were very effective because that was our updated time. Oh, have you heard from Susie Q yet? Because she hasn't shown up to a lot of my meetings. But she connected with another teacher who sees her, so at least I know she's active learning. Another thing that I did was I teach second grade, a lot of one-to-one conferencing with the children. I would do writing. I would assess their reading. And at our level, you can see if they're practicing these skills at home when you actually meet with them for 15 minutes. So I kind of staggered. I had 19 kids this year, and between all of the help and everything through our special ed teachers and Title I ed techs, we were trying to connect with as many kids as we wanted. And it got better as we kind of perfected that remote learning, because honestly, I didn't know how to set up a Google Classroom. I'm one of the fossils at our school, so
you're not alone, Julie. We had a lot of people in that boat.
I had to tap into the younger generation to help me, and they've been wonderful too. So
yeah, not only that, you usually probably don't use it with what would you need for little kids? Yeah,
I do not.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
All right, thanks, Julie.
You're welcome.
How about you, Henry? What did you use for assessment? Any type of formative assessment strategy you might have used?
Well, we were told really not to assess, but what I had was some forms, a simple form that they would fill out their activity log. So that was a way that I could see that my students at least were engaging and being active. And they had small videos that they had to watch and just make a comment. So I knew by them making a comment, it was specific that they were doing something. You know, if I had to judge myself fairly, I would say it was a big fail because things, you know, we were just thrown out of here like so many other school districts. And we tried our best. I do feel like, though, that if this continues in the fall, we've already got some ideas. I think of simply using Google Forms where kids will make simple responses that they won't be able to cut and paste.
No.
You know, these are ways, easy ways they can start engaging. And then we know they know how to use the system. At least this is my strategy going forward. First, I'll give them pretty much 1 + 1 equals. And once they show me they know what 2 is, then I can start getting a little bit higher level.
What grade level do you teach?
And I'm 6 through 8 middle school, and mostly phys ed, but also some health units.
And do your kids already they have the laptops already?
Yes, but I'll tell you, I had quite a few. I had the evidence that they signed up for my Google Classroom, not a response. But then there were other kids who did everything.
Right.
So anyway, it was a tough situation.
I think a lot of it, and just from kind of listening, is that if they weren't required and they knew they weren't going to be graded,
right,
they weren't going to do it. And that was a big thing why we had, I think, such high participation, because their grade depended on it, they
right.
had to. So that's I think a big takeaway.
Yeah, well, I feel like my district is fully aware of that and is fully aware of how we're going to go forward with requiring things. So, everyone has had a time now to adjust. As bad as this is, as the first time in our lives that something like this has happened, but we've all done it now, and now we'll go forward and try to do better.
And I think, Henry, that's true for teachers and students.
Right. Oh, absolutely. That's what I meant.
Yeah, exactly.
And administrators, really.
Yeah, all levels. I mean,
Yes.
It's true for Jean and I too at the state level.
Right.
Learning as we go.
This is new.
So we have just a couple of minutes left, and I want to make sure before we hit the 10 a.m. mark, not that we couldn't go over a few minutes, to let folks know where to find information, and it'll include Erin's recording of this session and the PDF that she'll send that'll have all the links in it. But we do have, so I'll share my screen to show you guys, all of you that haven't seen. So on the DOE website, which probably all of you have been to, you'll go to the home page and you'll click on View Resources for Schools, which pops up on the home page, and that'll take you to this page. And then just scroll down and you'll see the content resources. So if you click on health education or physical education, actually it'll take you to the same resources. You'll get to our home pages, and we have listed right here the curriculum resources for continuity of learning, tips and tidbits, recordings. The recordings will take you right to that page. It does take me a couple days or so to get the recordings posted, just know that. But that is where you'll find the Flipgrid one somebody had asked about, and then the bigger page. So I'll just click on this one so you'll see what it looks like. And you'll need to explore it a little bit. I will be spending some time this summer organizing it so that it'll be a little more user-friendly. I'll have all the same information, just a little more user-friendly. But it is a Google folder, and it has folders for health education, physical education, COVID in general. Some are specific topics that we've covered. These are all resources and materials that have been shared with us during the whole COVID-19 from teachers, other folks, etc. So I'll just open up one of them, the health education one I know, for instance, has, some materials that were shared. Doreen's materials that she shared are there. Activities on how to do a Jeopardy game. We had one on that. And this is where I will put Erin's list of resources that are available. In addition, if you explore down further here, there's some additional resources. We had someone do a virtual class, how to do a virtual classroom and escape rooms. We have the recordings of those. There's a 30-minute one and then a more extended 1-hour version of that. That one has not been posted yet, but here are the directions for how to do that. And if you go into the Maine Phys Ed or the Maine Health Education resource folders, those are just a list of links to websites, links to people's Google folders, links to organizations that have materials supporting distance learning. And at the beginning of each one, there's the Maine Health Teacher Toolbox. There's also a Maine Physical Education Teacher Toolbox. So you can access that right there. And if you just scroll down, you'll just continuously see lots of different materials that are available that can be accessed and used. So you take some time and explore that, but you can get that right off the website. I also have the link to it in any email you get from me. There's a link underneath my name, my signature, and that goes to the same page. So those are available. The last questions for Erin. Let's give her a round of applause. Thank you, Erin. That was very good. As always, you have so many wonderful ideas that you share.